Welcome to the Ber-Henda Williams Show. This isn't just a show, it's a sanctuary, a space where spirit meets community and softness becomes strength, where empathy meets power and voices spark change. I am your host, Ber-Henda Williams, mystic, media maker, culture shifter. We rise in truth, tenderness, and transformation. Let's begin. All right. Well, welcome to the Ber-Henda Williams Show. Thank you all so much for being here. I am so honored. And I want to center this, that I was reminded about vision. I did a Facebook Live, I think maybe it was last week. And a dear friend of mine said, Ber-Henda, remember when we went to lunch, you told me you were going to have your own talk show. That was 10 years ago. And slowly but surely, faith, purpose, life pushes you. And on a fateful day, afternoon, it was a Friday, I summoned my mentor, who's in the audience this evening. So mentor Alex Kimbrell, please give him a hand. Would not allow me to sidestep. He said, why not? It's the Ber-Henda Williams Show. And I said, well, no, it's an extension of my podcast. And he was like, no, it's something totally different. And you must prepare in his very Alex way. And I said, okay, I will step forward into the fuller vision. And I will say it's not been a crystal stair. However, when we have the whole spirit to guide you, you don't need nobody else. All right, so I'm going to level set, and then we're going to get right into it. Will you rise with me for what I've conjured into something sacred? There is no blueprint born from blood of stolen bodies on stolen shores. Black woman, seer. What else could I become but my own becoming? I dared to dream it. I dared to believe it. I dared to do it. This altar of blood, sweat, and tears, this bridge between starshine and struggle, one hand holding hope, and the other, my ancestors and becoming. Still I rise. So, celebrate this becoming, because every single day something has tried to snuff me out, to erase me, to unmake me. I cannot be undone. And still, I am here. Thank you. So on your seat, you should see a number. And if your number has a heart on it, check to see if your number has a heart on it. Yeah, number with a heart. Oh, so we have a number with a heart. And who else has a number with a heart? Anyone else have a number with a heart? All right, so hold on to your numbers, because that'll be part of unnetworking. So hold on to your numbers, because we will fellowship even more with our amazing guests that we have. All right, so this is our intuitive moment. So if you have a heart on it and you have a question about life, this is your opportunity to ask. It's okay. So does anyone else have a heart? Because there should have been two hearts. So you can grab, okay, well, you can. Yeah, you can, yes. Yep. So a question. So this is an intuitive moment. So you know the gift. So ask me anything.
What do you think, particularly women, business owners, given the climate now, the political climate, what do you think we can do to just anchor ourselves and continue to do the work? Setting all the political divide and the divisiveness that's happening, how can we set that aside? Because some of us are in groups, but we have differing belief systems and political ideas. How do we come together and put that aside, just to do the bigger or activate the bigger picture in the work?
Okay. So we've been here before. We've had, unfortunately, throughout our human history, multiple genocides, transatlantic slave trade, Trail of Tears. We've been here. But it's through the feminine that we've been able to have a through line. And so it's not that necessarily we can put things aside. Everything that is happening now because we swept things under the rug. So we have to call a thing a thing. And so it's not until we tell the truth that it can heal. So how many of us in here have broken anything, broken an arm, twisted an ankle, anything? So before you could get better, you had to, of course, get it examined to see where the problem was. Then after we examine what the problem is, there's a prescription given. And after you get the prescription, you have to rest. So this is what we have to do now. Tell the truth. Understand what the prescription is. Rest and listen. Because what's mine to do is going to be different than what's yours to do versus what's yours to do. But all of us have gifts, skills, talents, and abilities. So our time, our talent, our treasure. That's what's going to be the key to our liberation. So for us as women, it's easy to say, oh, well, we're all women, we're all female. Every sister carries a different load. And this is why I use a womanist practice versus feminism. Because the womanist praxis, so shout out to our sister, Alice Walker, includes race, gender, socioeconomics, orientation. It brings the whole person. And I'll close with this. Our other great ancestor, may she rest, Audre Lorde said, the master's tools will never destroy the master's house. So what are going to be our new tools? So that's it. So I hope that answers. I hope that answers your question. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be right back. We want to acknowledge our sponsors. We want to shout out to our sister, Shalise Daniels. So we want to thank you for your sponsorship. We want to thank Lori from Pop Speed Digital. Lori. We want to also thank you, Bamboo, the Bamboo family. We want to also thank the Well Woman Association for sowing seed into us. And we'll be right back, y'all. This episode of the Ber-Henda Williams Show has been sponsored in part by Pop Speed Digital Marketing, the Well Initiative Women's Association, Run Your Biz, Words That Dance, Live As If, the Credo Group, and Bamboo Co-working. And we are back. So before I bring our amazing guests to the stage, I just want to center some things. So first of all, the power of us is the collective unity and solidarity, particularly amongst women and femmes of color. When we look, as I spoke earlier, about feminism historically has left out race. It has left out social economics. It has definitely left out orientation. It is advocated solely on the premise of the patriarchy. Now, if we look at how we want to dissolve systems, we have to look at the whole person. And so I was in research and found that, in particular, Asian women are underrepresented in both the political sphere and in policy. Latina women and femmes make 55% less than white men, and they are overrepresented in the service industry. How about that? And additionally, when we look at Middle Eastern women, they face several challenges when it comes to employment, barriers in terms of the capacity for economic outcomes. And when we look at our African American Black sistering, the weather hypothesis done by Dr. Arlene Geronimus says that the higher a Black woman moves in terms of academia and also the workplace, the less and less she becomes herself. So when we talk about code switching, hair, workload, tone policing, that all arose away at one's identity. So the power of us, our collective, is the only way through. So with that, I'd like to first have you all welcome Danielle North. Danielle North is a mother of three. She is a runner, an accomplished social entrepreneur, first-generation college graduate with a bachelor's in science and sociology from Central Michigan University. She is also an ED over at Bottom Line, a nonprofit for first-generation college grads. Not to mention the founder of Kids Kingdom. Not to mention the founder of Degree Forward. Okay? And not to mention a pretty badass chef and cook. So please, y'all give it up for Danielle North. Up next, I'd love for you all to welcome Sharea Ayers from Black Leaders Detroit. So not only is she blackity black all the time black, but she is very passionate about her community. She is an educator, an advocate. Her heart is in the Juneteenth Jubilee, and you'll hear more about that, the ride to equity. And she believes, first and foremost, that we will uplift the Black culture. She is the COO of Black Leaders Detroit and a recent alum of the New Leaders Council that has been impacted and founded by Harvard Business. Yes, yes, yes. Up next, we have the storytelling maven and the woman behind the camera, making sure that narratives are accurate. So if you could please put your hands together, please, for Eden Sabolboro. Eden is an award-winning, yes, Filipina American producer, director, and video journalist. She is the co-founder of Real Clever Films. Isn't that name clever? And her work includes documentaries, branded content, and national campaigns. Please give it up. Next, we have Samantha Barash of Tap Into You Nutrition. She is a registered dietitian, community builder, and passionate advocate about holistic wellness. At the Practice Collective, it is inclusive. It is all BIPOC representation, and she is extraordinarily passionate about communities and being culturally responsive in the therapy practice. Y'all give it up. And the definition of keeping it real and 100, we have next Laura Chavez, daughter of Southwest Detroit. Business leader and development, sits on several nonprofit boards, and in 2023 was recognized as the Hispanic Heritage Game Changer from the Illich Foundation. Y'all give it up. So each of these voices represented here speaks to each facet of our society that we need to have fully functional and running. And so what I'm gonna make sure here is I'll get the mic, pass it as necessary. So Danielle, we'll start with you first, and then we'll move down the line, and then we'll open it up for more, whoever would like to take the question. But Danielle, my question to you is, when we talk about forward moving, and when we talk about, as our sister asked, about how do women move forward, especially in times of great polarization, what impact have you seen directly with bringing parity and equality in the realm of education and social entrepreneurship? What does that do for women, and what does that do for family?
First of all, let's give it up for Ber-Henda, please. Thank you for everything that you've done and for bringing this illustrious panel of incredible women together. Very colorful, very dynamic and intentional, and I appreciate that. Absolutely beautiful. When I think about moving forward, I have been asked by women who have watched me, because I am of a certain age at this point, thank God for good genes, but I have lived a little bit. And I remember a dear friend of mine, actually, who owns the space, asking, prior to her having children, asking questions about how do you, have, you're a mom and you have kids and you do these different things, because there's this pressure of having it all. And there's this pressure of, wanting to be a wife and wanting to be a mother, but wanting to be a business owner and be educated and have all of these various things. And like the stat that she shared, the other piece of that stat that she shared is that as women continue to move up in their career, Black women in particular, they are less likely to be able to get married. And so for me, it is everything, but it's not everything at one time, right? And what does that look like in terms of prioritizing, even if you prioritize with that fear of losing certain things, because that is very real for women. If I go to school, or if I stop work, or if I do these things, will I miss out on opportunities in the stratosphere that are available to me? But when you ask, what does that mean to move forward, and what does that mean for family? Everything that I am actually helps me move forward my family, right? It's all important. I am able to provide and bring money to the table. We have a non-traditional household in that standpoint. Both of us work, both me and my spouse work, but then there's a traditional side of us. I cook, I enjoy cooking. I like to do that. It's not a thing, at least we've grown up now, right? It used to be like, woman, where's my plate? But I enjoy, serving my husband in that kind of way. And at the same time, you see me out here as a boss, right? And running a business and running nonprofits and doing all of that. But that's something that I enjoy. And that's something that my children get to see. They get to see me operate in that space, but also operate as a leader. And so it helps move my family forward because the Black family did well when it had that traditional structure, right? And so I think it's a lot of both and, education and mothering and, but figuring out the right timing and placement.
Love that. Thank you. Yep. So we'll pass the mic. So my next. Yep. So we'll just pass the mic down. So, heirs of Black Leaders Detroit. Let me just say, just as a personal recipient of some of the funding from Black Leaders Detroit, you all did not make it difficult. I mean, it was not a hard process. They were like Issa Rae out here. We want everybody Black to win. So it was the barriers just were not there. So if you could explain a bit about why your model is so successful and the impact that you've seen. Maybe there are a couple of stories of individuals that like as we've sown a seed into them, this has eventually helped their business grow. But also, again, like I said, you all didn't make it hard. So give us a little background on the model and the vision.
Well, shout out to Dewan, because he's Dewan and some of our founding board members are the ones who modified the vision and then also put it in action, right? So it's based on cooperative economics, which is, if you all don't know, one of the Kwanzaa principles. So with that, it's based on cooperative economics, and then we work with some of our Jewish allies at the Hebrew Free Loans in regards to the no interest loans piece. And so that, of course, has a religious base. I mean, in Exodus, it says like it shouldn't be interest on loans. So it's pretty clear. So even in the Bible, like Jesus said it, don't do it. But needless to say, so again, as it pertains to the model, how it goes, we look to community members to donate $1 a week. We take that dollar, put it towards the pot of money for no interest loans and grants. And then from there, people can apply for it, or we do share power grants, so everybody is not applying for grants, but we share power with our grants. So our members get to nominate organizations to receive grant funding. And then for the loans, it's each quarter. And again, it's no interest, and people apply for that. And we also have amazing funding board members who they interview. So it's character-based and not just credit-based, right? So we're looking at the people and not just the paper, which is different from other financial institutions. And that's the part that I love, to be honest, because it's like, I used to be an educator, and every year I would ask my econ class, it was high schoolers, but I would ask them, I would say, like, how many people have something in their name? Every year, multiple students' hands would go up, right? So it's like your credit already shot before you even know what career path you want to go in, you know what I mean? So with the work that we do at Black Leaders Detroit, it brings me a lot of joy because we get to know the person. Because if your mama messed up your credit, or your grandma, or your dad, whoever, you can still get a loan, like, so it's just real. And then, yeah. And not only that, it's just a matter of just everything about my job I definitely love, but it speaks to who I am also culturally, because when we allow Black people to lead and provide access to capital, the trajectory of what a acceptable employee or whatever changes, right? And I just say that because, like, even with a number of organizations, so I'm not going to say anybody's specific business, but we've had entrepreneurs who used to be justice impacted citizens. We've had entrepreneurs that are immigrants. So the whole thing is, when you think about those stories, some people within the diaspora didn't have a choice but to be an entrepreneur because of the systemic issues that they were facing, with which nobody would even hire them, So when you think about that, it's necessary for Black Leaders Detroit to exist, because some people don't even have the option to do anything else. And then in addition to that, they hire other people who somebody else may have rejected, right? So it's just like, when it's all said and done, I love what I do because it speaks to who I am culturally, but it also just makes sense in regards to the upward mobility of America, because not just black people, because when black people win, as I said before, everybody wins. We're the second largest consumer group. We increase the GDP, and then on top of that, again, we definitely open the doors. We steady bring people along as we move up. So I say all that to say, I love it. Makes sense.
Love it. You hold so much power because you're behind the lens. You're in production. You're in production of content, of words and narrative. And so when we think about the quote unquote model minority, some of the stereotypes that exist about Asian people and particular Asian women, what has given you the most joy in your work of maybe dispelling some myths, but also the resilience and the power of your community?
Yeah, firstly, thank you, Ber-Henda, for having me. And thank you, Black Leaders Detroit, let's give it up one more time for the work that they do. I can't talk about this work without addressing, my background. And I was gonna say everything that you mentioned really struck at the heart, because I am a Filipino-American immigrant. I came here in 2014, and, did the business, did production, did filmmaking out of necessity, right? Because again, if you think about the immigrant perspective, it does really give me chills. It still makes me emotional. It's been 11 years, right? And, I thought we had been over this, this hatred, this, hatefulness, time of uncertainty, this rhetoric around immigrants, that is very, you can't shake it off in this time and place in 2025. So yeah, moved here, could not have, a lot of people ask me, why Detroit? Why? Everyone was like, go to New York, go to LA, the industry's there. But very quickly got adopted by the Detroit community, especially the Black community has really, paved the way for me to be able to do the work that I do. And so ever since then, I think about that and I'm inspired by that hurdle. And I think about that often these days, right? Of the fact that as an immigrant, which I'm sure a lot of Filipino Americans or Asian Americans have gone through, you still really try to grapple with that otherness that you feel. And you're never quite there, you're never quite here. And so when I think about the communications work that I do, I've had, in the 10 years that I've been here, I've been very fortunate to start my company. That company has gone on to win 2 Emmys at this point. And again, it really would not have been possible again without community. And when I think about community, it always has to be approached from a very intersectional lens. And that's what I really appreciate about being in Detroit, because you go to, the community just welcomes you with open arms. Naturally, granted, there are challenges about that, and there's always complexities and dynamics, right? Of when you're entering into a space, you're always cognizant of what you bring to the table or the energy that you bring. It's about energy, right? But I firmly believe that when you approach your work with the purest of intentions, with the idea of really trying to be as inclusive to everyone and trying to provide a seat at the table for everyone, then things they just really manifest themselves, right? The world really does open up for you. And so in my current capacity, actually something that Ber-Henda hasn't mentioned is I'm now also presently serving as the communications director for Mothering Justice. And so and this is, and it's one of those roles where I never would have imagined, I was the person that greatly benefited. I was a young mom, immigrant on Medicaid. That was the reality, and so in my current role as comms director for this incredible nonprofit that fights for, moms of color and their families, right? For childcare, affordable childcare, fair wages, education. So when we really go to policymakers and really tell them about the issues, I really think about all the ways in which I have to uplift everyone and how not just my own story, not just the person next to me, but what can we do to really approach storytelling and narrative from the most multicultural and inclusive lens. And so I think about that in my work a lot. Yeah.
Thank you. So of course I'm getting eyes from my producer, so I want to make sure that our expressions are lean but poignant. Lean but poignant. So my question for you, Samantha, because you are in the mental health space and wellness space, we talk about identity, and your work is culturally responsive. So as someone who holds the identity of female identified, Palestinian, college educated, what do all of those things mean, and how have they influenced your work in being a culturally responsive space?
You know, I was sitting here wondering what direction you were going to take in a question, and I
Straight there.
appreciate I appreciate it. Yeah, and I think I'm going to follow the rest of these ladies of like, it's our story, right? And I grew up as a 9/11 kid, right? And I grew up watching my father experience so much discrimination in the workplace. And as a young kid, I wanted to fit in, I wanted to adapt. And so what did I do? I became a dietitian because I thought that if I could shrink myself, if I could take the least amount of space up, I'd be able to make it in this world, right? I'd be able to figure it out. And I did become a dietitian. But I also was able to be part of that like 3% of people who are dietitians of color, and be able to help people not just find health, but find their culture through food. And in doing that, I've really been blessed to be able to help people become healthier while also reclaiming the foods that they grew up with, right? And understanding like, what does it mean to be healthy? What does it mean to exist in this world, to take up space? And then through community, being able to do that within the mental health space. So I practice as a dietitian, but I say I'm a mental health dietitian because we can't talk about food, we can't talk about health without talking about the behavioral pieces, right? Or the systemic pieces that we were talking about in the green room earlier today, right? So I think that was maybe a pointed explanation of how we got here.
Yes. So, Laura, in your incredible dynamic leadership, I've also watched you lean into your softness, lean into your femininity, and definitely stand on a foundation of empathy and wellness. So how have you been able to navigate spaces that are traditionally occupied by men, specifically white men, and still maintain a sense of self and identity?
So first of all, thank you for that question. Second of all, I will say that I am Latina every day. I show up as Latina every day. I am colorful, I am bold, and I love to incorporate my language and the diversity of my language, but I'm also respectful. I think that it's very important to be authentic in who you are. And I love to wear my dresses. I love to look pretty, you know, I love to put on a red lipstick, as you know. And what happens sometimes or oftentimes is I walk in as an executive director, I walk in as a president or CEO, and I'm the only Latina in the room. And I know that for us as women, that happens often. And you're not even looked at as someone that deserves to be there. And so a lot of times you almost have to show them, I know my stuff, I know why I'm here, I earned this, I wasn't given this. And to be able to say my learned experience has value, my lived experience has value. And yes, you wanted me to be in this position because I look this way, but in addition to that, I have a voice. And so I love to say I show up, stand up, and speak up, because it's not just good enough to show up. You have to have value behind the opportunity to be in that room and not allow your voice to be silenced. And it's not just enough to invite me to sit at the table among these individuals. Listen to me, because I need to be heard, because our community all too often is pushed to the side or is, thankful to be here, but then the things that we need are not addressed. They're not mentioned. And so I show up for my community. And as you know, Southwest Detroit is a very diverse community, and I love it. And, I'm a mom of a 16-year-old son who is a black brown boy. And I I love watching him grow, but I also love to give him the opportunity to be Black and to be brown and to be proud and to be able to see his mom in this role. And so I bring him oftentimes with me. And I think that that's a very powerful piece that you can do as a mother. And so, I love it, and I'm thankful for it, and I accept every single opportunity. I don't think anyone has ever invited me somewhere, and I said no. I try very often to show up for my friends and to show up for my colleagues. And as we were saying in the green room, I leave for Mexico tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. And when
Take me with you.
And when Ber-Henda called me and said, "Hey, can you do this today?" I was like, "Well, I leave at 6, but you know what? I can do it. I'll be there." So thank you.
So I feel so incredibly blessed just to have all of you, not just as guests on the show, but just as sisters and in solidarity doing this work. So at this moment, we have just a few minutes left. If there are any questions that were brewing in the audience, if anyone has a question. Yes, right here. Go ahead, take it.
This is work. Okay. As a friend and colleague of Danielle, she's phenomenal, and she really should be on the show next time. I'm somebody that, again, because of the immigrant background, the feeling of otherness, I frequently downplay myself. I'm the person that, like, the imposter syndrome, like, no matter how milestones or goalposts, and I think like that also comes with like the experience of womanhood sometimes, right? Like, there is a tendency for us to really like try to subdue ourselves, because also there's a lot of traumas and conditioning that we grew up with, where it's like, oh girl, you're doing too much. Like, don't be that way. Like, you got to like watch your energy when you go into the room. And so I dealt with that imposter syndrome and like the really like the silencing of my own self for a very, very, very long time. I say this because one of my best friends is an influencer, and I also have very complicated feelings about social media, naturally, right? Because we're living in sort of creator economy or content first, and I sometimes like, and it's my job too to do those things, and I'm like, but I don't need. I can also just do the work, like for me, like, it's about the work. It's about like the stories. But my friend, like, she just reminded me, like, look, like, I get that you think it's cringe. I get that you think that whenever you take up space or put yourself out there on social media, you don't like doing that, and that's okay. However, just think about the fact that if you do like one thing, you don't have to do it often, but if you do one thing at a time, and somebody like you sees you, they're either also an immigrant, they're a woman of color, they're feeling that helplessness or the feeling of being lost. Like, am I ever gonna be recognized? Am I ever gonna step? To Laura's point, is like, are they ever gonna just see me for who I am and the power that I have? And she was like, just think about that. And so whenever you put yourself out there, it's all about you being visible. Like, she was like, I get that you're very passionate about the work that you do, but your visibility, like you being you and showing up, that actually does so much more. That like leagues like of unspoken power that you're conveying to people. So if that's one thing that I would impart from that experience, is the thing that my friend told me. Yeah.
So how are we on time? Okay. And so I want to thank you all so much for being here. And of course, we're going to have unnetworking afterwards. So we're going to have an opportunity to go even deeper into the conversation. Okay, so we're going to go deeper. But I want to thank y'all so much for being guests on the Ber-Henda Williams Show. And I just want to quickly just piggyback off of what you said, representation. There was a woman from Mississippi during the height of segregation that was born and started her own talk show, which I am a geriatric millennial, someone told me. And I was raised on Oprah, so I would come home after school, my sister, and make Denny Moore beef stew or Kraft macaroni and cheese because those were safe, and watch the Oprah Winfrey Show. And so had she not gotten over whatever her fears, anxieties, being Black, being dark-skinned, if she hadn't gotten all of those things, I don't know that a heavy named girl named Ber-Henda would have the audacity to believe that she could do the same thing. So I definitely want to nod to that. And speaking of audacity, I want to recognize a moment in our show where this will happen every episode, give people their flowers. So if I could, at this moment, I'm going to move just a little bit. If I could have Damian Crutcher come on down, founder and executive director of Crescendo, and also at the DSO. If I could have Andrea Hamler, Tate, come on down. And if I could have the Wanda Olubala to come on down. I think it's super important that in our community, we recognize our educators, our social workers. If I could keep it, as the kids say, a buck, Miss Jenkins, that runs the block club, the elders at the church, the mothers, the fathers, those people who step in and gap stand for us. The work that you all do is thankless, I know, and it's hard. Some of y'all retire and then still keep going because you love us so much. You love not just children, but you love Black children. And we're in a climate where that our identities are attacked, but to me, Black is always the thing to be. Amen, somebody. Amen. Okay. So without further ado, I would like to literally give you your flowers. So if we could please give these amazing individuals, Damian Crutcher from Crescendo, Andrea Hamler from Southfield Public Schools, and the social work lady from Henry Ford Academy. I want you all to know that we see you, we love you, and if the least that we can do is give you your flowers. Thank you, love you. And so that, good humans, will conclude the Ber-Henda Williams Show. I am so grateful and thankful that each and every one of y'all came out on this evening. This means so much to me. I want to shout out, of course, Danielle North, Sharea Ayers, Eden Sabolboro, Samantha Barash, Laura Chavez, and y'all give it up for the DJ on the wheels. It's still on the ones and twos. Give it up for Stacey J. And I want y'all to clap for yourselves. So give yourselves a round of applause. So this is where empathy meets power and voices spark change. I'm Ber-Henda Williams, y'all. Till next time.